So Hirofumi Katayama is a professor of environmental economics and the director of the Oberlin Big History Movement at JF Oberlin University in Tokyo. He introduced the first formal big history course in Japan in 2016. In 2019, he organized the inaugural International Big History Symposium in Japan. His commitment to advancing big history continued with establishment of interdisciplinary big history colloquium in 2020. His Katayama's research centers on challenging anthropocentrism in mainstream big history, proposing an alternate perspective known as Buddhist big history. And I think you can say it better, as in your title. Hiro, want to go ahead?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your introduction, Dave. And hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome to my presentation. My name is Hirofumi Katayama. I'm a professor at JF Oberlin University. My specialty is environmental economics. Until now, I have mainly considered from the perspective of social thought, how big history affects our worldview and the view of humanity in the era of Anthropocene. Today, I would like to give a presentation on the potential of big history as cosmopolitanism. By the way, this photo is of a Gale camp in Mongolia. JF Oberlin University runs a short-term program called the Mongolian Environmental Program, which I participated in this August. This is the photo of the program, and the Gale camp looked like a space base on Mars. The purpose of my presentation is to present a vision of cosmopolitanism based on big history. Human space exploration is currently accelerating, and habitation on the moon and Mars is becoming a reality. We can say that we are in a transitional period from Earth civilization to galactic civilization. This diagram is a projection of future lunar development by the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA. Humanity could be able to engage in such activities as early as the 2030s. This will require us to take a step beyond being Earth citizens in a globalized world to become a space citizens in a galactic civilization. To achieve this, we must re-examine the immaturity of Earth civilization from the perspective of galactic civilization. The big history method is useful in this regard. I understand big history as a worldview composed of a cosmic scale, temporal and spatial perspective, a cosmic perspective and deep time. I believe that cosmic scale sense of time and space of big history will provide the foundation for humanity to establish itself as a cosmic citizen. In this presentation, I would like to present a vision of cosmopolitanism based on big history. Of course, it is impossible to fully discuss this topic in this short time, so I would like to briefly outline my basic ideas in a tentative manner. The agenda for this presentation is as follows. First, I will discuss the recent reevaluation of the idea of cosmopolitanism. Next, I will discuss two problems facing modern cosmopolitanism. I will argue that these problems lie in terrestrial thinking, that is, a way of thinking that is limited to the Earth, and that to overcome this, a new way of thinking called celestial thinking is necessary. In his 2009 book, Cosmopolitanism and the Geographies of Freedom, economic geographer David Harvey notes that influential thinkers such as Martha Nussbaum, Jürgen Habermas, Jacques Derrida, David Held, Julia Kristeva, Ulrich Beck, Anthony Appiah, Timothy Brennan, Bruce Robbins, James Clifford, and many others have written persuasively on the topic in recent years. The reason, he argues, is that challenges to the sovereign powers of the state have opened the space for an active revival of cosmopolitanism as a way of approaching global, political, economic, cultural, environmental, and legal questions. Harvey has been critical of the changes that globalization is bringing to the modern society, but he also recognizes the importance of cosmopolitanism in resolving contemporary global problems and discusses its potential in this book. However, I believe that modern cosmopolitanism, including the new cosmopolitanism that has emerged in recent years, has two major problems. First, there are the limitations of the Stoic concentric circle model. When discussing cosmopolitanism, people, especially in Europe, often cite the Stoic concentric circle model. This model sees human society as a concentric circle structure of layered communities: a self, family, king, polis, nation, cosmopolis, as shown in the diagram. In this case, cosmopolitanism is a philosophy that advocates expanding the human sense of community centered on the self in the diagram from the smallest and narrowest family kin surrounding the self to the cosmopolis, the community of all humanity, in order to achieve a cosmopolitan consciousness. Expanding the community from the self to the cosmopolis, in other words, overcoming the boundaries of each community that makes up the concentric circle, is thought to be possible by expanding the circle of empathy. However, as the circle moves away from the center, the power of empathy weakens. Here, the limitations of the community approach become clear because cosmopolitanism, which is essentially something that overcomes community thinking, is being grounded in community. The second problem facing modern cosmopolitanism is the conflict between universalism and space identity. Place here is a term from phenomenological geography. Place is the deep center of the world we directly experience and is an important source of socially shared identity for us. It also gives us the idea of attachment, affinity, roots, and home. However, the emphasis on place identity is seen as incompatible with the universalism of cosmopolitanism. Just as globalization has standardized the diversity of various regions, cosmopolitanism can also be seen as a denial of place identity. The conflict between universalism and place identity has also manifested itself as a conflict between communitarianism and cosmopolitanism. Communitarianism, which is based on community thinking, criticizes cosmopolitanism as an ideology that destroys community. From my perspective, which sees cosmopolitanism as a way of thinking that transcends community thinking, there is some truth to this. However, to cosmopolitans who position themselves as expanding community, these criticisms seem extremely harsh and on point. To overcome this conflict, various hyphenated versions of cosmopolitanism, as Harvey calls them, have been advocated in recent years. For example, rooted cosmopolitanism, situated, actually existed, discrepant, vernacular, Christian, bourgeois, liberal, post-colonial, feminist, proletarian, subaltern, ecological, socialist, cosmopolitanism, and so on. Marx Nussbaum, who developed the idea of capabilities, together with economist Amartya Sen, has become a powerful advocate of cosmopolitanism in recent years. In her book, For Love of Country, which includes her theory of cosmopolitanism and comments from 16 people, Benjamin Barber criticizes her as follows. Nussbaum underestimates the thinness of cosmopolitanism and the crucial humanizing role played by identity politics in a deracinating world of contracts, markets, and legal personhood. No one actually lives in the world of which the cosmopolitan wishes to us to be good citizens. What we require are healthy, democratic form of local community and civic patriotism rather than abstract universalism. In this way, he clearly criticizes Nussbaum from the perspective of the place identity. Many other commentators in this book also criticize her from a similar standpoint. However, at the end of this book, Nussbaum replies to the commentator's criticism, and it is very interesting. She says, most children's stories don't bind the mind to the local. Good fairy tales are rarely about Cambridge, Massachusetts. While inhabiting a particular local world, they are already learning about a far larger world. She also points out that children often have a much stronger moral concern for animals than for adults around them, and that children's impulse of empathy for the poor are simpler and stronger than adults. Nussbaum emphasizes the importance of imagination. She continues, children's imaginations are flexible and subtle instruments of acknowledgement, carrying them to the distant local and the distant familiar. All circles develop simultaneously in a complex and interlacing movement. But surely, the outer circle is not the end to form. She argues that we need this kind of fresh imagination, or as she put it, thinking unclouded by local ideology. I would like to call this type of thinking celestial thinking. The Stoic concentric circles are a model created by ancient Stoic philosophers to discuss cosmopolitanism. However, when we read the writings of ancient philosophers discussing cosmopolitanism, we find that it doesn't necessarily involve movement from the center to the outside. For example, in his famous Dream of Scipio, Cicero states, men were created to keep that glove, which you see in the center of this region and which is called the earth. Those who have now lived their lives and released from their bodies dwell in that place which you can see, a circle conspicuous among the fires of heaven by the surpassing whiteness of its glowing light, Milky Way. In other words, according to Cicero, the true home of humans is the Milky Way galaxy, and humans came from there to protect the Earth. Humans are originally Milky Way people, and then they became Earthlings. In other words, they went from being cosmopolitans to global citizens.
We're
In this
2 minutes
case,
from 15.
human movement is not from the center to the outside, but from the outside to the center. He then asks, how long will your mind be bound to the earth? The vivid imagination and cosmic sense that Nussbaum speaks of as children is at work here as well. Modern people have lost this kind of imagination and cosmic sense, and this way have given rise to the problems of Stoic concentric circles. Harvey himself presents an interesting discussion of place in his previously mentioned book. In order to resolve the conflict between place and universality, he uses the process philosophy of Whitehead to understand place as fluid. He argues as follows. Whitehead construes places as entities that achieve relative stability for a time. Such entities he calls permanences. The process of place formation is a process of carving out permanence from a flow of processes that simultaneously create a distinctive kind of spatio-temporality. The permanents are not eternal. Places are always contingent on the relational processes that create, sustain, and dissolve them. Whitehead's process philosophy posits the essence of things in process rather than substance, and views the world as a process of constant change. Harvey utilized this idea to dismantle the notion of place. Big history accomplished this dismantlement using a super long-term sense of time, known as deep time. Big historians' sense of deep time sees various places on Earth, and even Earth itself, as in flux. When we look at things in deep time, in terms of millions of billions of years, everything appears to be in flux, something that is being generated. As I have mentioned above, modern people's understanding of Stoic concentric circle lacks a cosmic perspective. They are faced with the problems of how to expand empathy. Modern people's shallow sense of time perceives it as a fixed order and is unable to perceive it as a fluid and creative spacetime. I would like to call this way of thinking terrestrial thinking. Its counterpart is celestial thinking. This table summarizes the difference between the two ways of thinking. Terrestrial thinking is closed, communal, while celestial thinking is open, interdisciplinary. While terrestrial thinking views established order as fixed, celestial thinking views order as emergent, creative. In short, I believe that creative openness is the vision of cosmopolitanism based on big history. Thanks for listening.
Excellent, Hero. Very good. Thank you very much. It's open for questions or discussion. Buddy, yes, Lionel.
Okay. First, very happy to meet you, Katayama Sensei. Thank you. My question is about what do you call cosmopolitanism? Because generally, when we say cosmopolitanism, I haven't checked the dictionary while you were talking. It's someone who is cosmopolitan has had a lot of contact with people and things from many different countries, and as a result, is very open to different ideas and ways of doing things, etc. So do you mean cosmopolitan on Earth or cosmic? So is it Earth citizenship, global citizenship, or do you mean a cosmic citizenship?
I would like to express cosmopolitanism as a philosophy of and policy of cosmic citizen.
Okay.
And French philosopher Henri Bergson said interesting thing. he also, in his two sources of morals and religions, he said that he divided two type of society, open society and closed society. And he says, what I said, cosmopolitanism is near to his says, open society. But he argues that we cannot achieve open society by expanding closed society. And we, for this, we should go out of the society and approach from the outside to the humanity. So, and I also think this approach is useful, and this is my opinion.
Okay, so you mean actually cosmic, so it's to go beyond Earth. Thank you.
All right, very good. Timothy?
Hi there. Yes, that was a very interesting paper. Thank you so much. My background is in Greek and Roman history, and so I'm quite conversant with the Stoics. And so when I think about cosmopolitanism in terms of the Stoic idea, it means citizen of the cosmos, and the cosmos in Greek means the order of things. So it would mean the world, essentially. So a cosmopolitan would be not a citizen of their own city, of their own polis, but a citizen of the world. So the idea is I'm going to transcend my ties to my polis, and I'm going to consider myself a citizen of the entire oikumene, the inhabited world. Okay, so now when I think about the patriotism to one's own polis, okay, I think about social solidarity, so the ability of the people of a polis to work together. And I'm thinking of someone like Peter Turchin, whom I'm sure a lot of you have read. Peter Turchin tries to rehabilitate the 14th century North African social scientist Ibn Khaldun, a very interesting thinker who wrote the Muqaddimah. And Ibn Khaldun sees the ability of social cohesion to arise in groups who have to fight in the desert for survival. And he calls this asabiya. So this is the ability for a group to unite, but it's specifically able to unite against other groups. So this is what Ibn Khaldun sees as the sort of core of asabiya, and hence the core of a sort of sense of group solidarity, which I think is the origin of the notion of patriotism, that I will be willing to make sacrifices for my group. And it expands from a group of relatives to the whole city, with the whole city or the whole polis, which is already a very impressive growth, to think not just of your family, of the people related to you, but to think of the people who are all together in this city. And this is what Pericles talks about in the funeral speech in Thucydides. It's very, very interesting. So my question, thinking in those terms, would be, okay, if you want to be a cosmopolitan, if you want to advocate cosmopolitanism in this sense of I'm going to transcend my love of my people from just my family to my city, and then from my city to the whole cosmos, to the whole order, to the whole world, I worry that what is necessary, maybe I'm wrong, for a group to feel a sense of cohesion is an external enemy. This is a very pessimistic perspective, but I worry that without some sort of force to work against, people will not feel a sufficient sense of social solidarity. That's my concern. What do you think about that?
In my argument, I mainly focus on how to overcome the community thinking. In the community, people divided inside and outside. This is the perhaps the emergent of life, the life divided myself and environment by the embrances. So perhaps the origin of community thinking is emergence of life. But I think I would like to overcome, transcend this コミュニティの boundary. I believe the big history is a movement to transcend the any boundaries to as you pointed out, how to build solidarity or new truly network is the next problem. So this is my challenge. But
Well, see, okay, so I hear what
Mm.
you're saying. So here's, I guess, the other way to think about it is this. Okay, so I'm thinking about something like world communism, where in communism they're saying we have to go above our country, we have to be international in our outlook, but they had an enemy to fight against, and that was that was capitalism. So I feel like that provided a kind of basis for solidarity. So all I'm saying is I hope that for your idea of cosmopolitanism, some sort of basis of solidarity could be found. And I think maybe you've already given the answer. Maybe it is a sense of solidarity against the harshness of the environment or against the universe or something like that. Maybe that's how I should think about this.
Thank you, I see.
All right, very good. Nabul?
Oh,
We're at
thank you,
8:55
Hiro.
on a 5-minute break.
Okay. Thank you, Hiro, for your presentation. When you mentioned celestial thinking, you were talking about Nussbaum, and C is talking about children, imagination of children. Then we are all adults. So how can we achieve and get to celestial thinking you just mentioned?
I think one
So
of the
how
ways is to read science fiction. And I also read some good science fiction to imagine other world, alternative ways.
right? And so another very crucial point of your presentation is, according to your presentation and other papers, so you think we can achieve cosmopolitanism not by expanding our identity from our living place to a larger places like country and region and the world, and then cosmos. But Arne Bergson, you just mentioned, pointed out, so we cannot achieve that by doing so. Rather, we can do it by transcending our narrower perspective, narrower identity, transcending the earth. And then only by doing so, we can achieve global identity.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a point of the quote you mentioned.
Yes.
So then I think it's common. There is common with what I talked about yesterday. So it's like cosmic round trip. So we need to transcend ourselves anyway, somehow. And then only when we can do so, we can transform ourselves. And that's the point. And the history allows us to do that. And I hope you can state that more clearly in the future. Thank you.
I understand your point. Cosmic round trip is one of the best way to this. We have imagination for this.
Very good. Ken?
Neurobiology indicates that we do not experience reality. What we experience is the stories that our brains create so that we can navigate the world. So that we all technically live in separate worlds. What holds us together in society is a shared symbolic order. All of us are capitalists. We can't exist without that holding us together. So what we're looking for is a story that children can learn and grow up with so that they realize that because your story is different from mine doesn't mean you're wrong, and that we're all together. And I think what you're saying is that big history offers a story and the symbolic order that might allow for the possibility of a cosmopolitan outlook.
We have less than a minute left.
You see the point. And I would like to construct the theory of imagination to think this problem. And thank you very much for your pointing.
I think one more, Lionel.
We're out of time unless you want to go over.
Yeah, there's two speakers coming up that I've sent emails to, so we might have a gap there. I think we can, this generated a lot of discussion, so I think we'll just go a couple minutes over. So Lionel, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to synthesize what was said, because I actually it's from the solution is education, just what Ken said before. Yes, that it's going from teaching a story of the common story, big history from very little age. But sorry, who I forgot the name. The Greece specialist.
Tim.
Oh, yes, Tim. Sorry, I didn't see. But as Tim said, you need an enemy. Yes, also. So I'm afraid maybe we will come to this only after a big catastrophe or big war, and we will realize that actually, if we don't come together, we will not survive. Yes, that's my 2 cents.
I see.
Excellent.
Thank you for your comment.
Yes, thank you very much. You're a very nice presentation.